I'm Claire, and my life in a sleepy suburban corner of upstate New York has always been a quiet, predictable canvas, until the day my husband Mark dropped a bombshell that shattered everything I thought I knew. Standing in our sterile kitchen, his cryptic words about a mysterious plan at an empty college campus sent a shiver down my spine, stirring a mix of dread and curiosity in my heart. What could he possibly mean by "not entirely proper"? As I followed him into the unknown, the weight of his gaze and the eerie silence of the abandoned auditorium gripped me, pulling me toward a moment that would change me forever. What did I uncover in that shadowed space, under the unblinking eyes of hidden cameras? Picture this: a world so still, so unassuming, that even the air seems to hold its breath, waiting for something to shatter the silence. That's my life, tucked away in a quiet suburban corner of upstate New York, where the days blend into one another like watercolor on a canvas left out in the rain. My name is Claire, and at 36, I've carved out a small, predictable existence in a neighborhood where the most exciting event is the mailman's daily rounds. I'm married, have been for a decade, and yet there's a part of me that feels like it's still waiting to truly begin. Let me paint you a picture of myself. I'm of average height, with pale skin that rarely sees the sun, and dark brown hair that I keep pulled back in a tight bun, as if letting it loose might reveal too much. My wardrobe is a shield: long-sleeve dresses and conservative cardigans that drape over me like a second skin, covering every inch, leaving nothing to chance. I'm not one for bold statements or loud colors. My voice, when I use it, is soft, barely above a whisper, and I've mastered the art of avoiding eye contact, my gaze often drifting to the floor or the nearest wall. I'm reserved, some might say distant, but it's not out of coldness. It's just how I've always been. My sanctuary is my work, my escape. I'm a freelance editor, spending hours in a small home office that's more chaos than order, cluttered with stacks of books and papers that tower like little fortresses around me. This room, with its creaky chair and flickering desk lamp, is where I feel most at ease, where the world outside can't quite reach me. Then there's Mark, my husband. He's 38, a security guard at the local community college, and in many ways, he's my opposite. He's tall, broad-shouldered, with a presence that fills a room even when he's silent. His black hair is cropped short, practical, and his face, handsome in a rugged way, bears the marks of years spent on night shifts, lines etched deep from sleepless hours. His voice is deep, steady, the kind that could calm a storm, and for so long it's been my anchor. But lately, there's a distance between us, a quiet gap that neither of us seems to know how to bridge. I've met a few of his colleagues in passing during rare visits to the campus. 3 older guards named Tom, Richard, and Henry. They're gruff men, weathered by time, but they always offer a polite nod when they see me, their eyes holding stories I've never dared to ask about. I don't know them well, and honestly, I've never tried to. Mark and I have been together for 12 years, married for 10 of them, and while love still lingers in the spaces between us, our life has settled into a rhythm so predictable it's almost mechanical. That's the word I was searching for last night, when Mark dropped a pebble into the still waters of our routine, stirring ripples I couldn't ignore. This morning, I'm standing in our kitchen, the familiar hum of the coffee maker filling the silence as I pour a steaming cup. I'm wearing my usual navy dress, long-sleeved as always, the fabric soft against my skin, but heavy with the weight of habit. The fluorescent light overhead casts a sterile glow over everything, making the room feel more like a stage than a home. I hear the scrape of a chair and glance over to see Mark settling across from me at the breakfast table. He's in his security uniform, the dark blue shirt stretched across his broad shoulders, black pants crisp and neat, his badge catching the light with a faint glint. He looks tired, But there's something else in his expression today, something I can't quite place. He takes a sip of his own coffee, then sets the mug down with a deliberate thud. "Tomorrow's a technical break at the college," he says, his deep voice cutting through the quiet. "Classes are canceled for maintenance. Campus will be empty." I nod, stirring sugar into my cup, waiting for him to go on. He leans in closer, his elbows on the table, and his voice drops to a near whisper. "I want you to come with me tomorrow. I've got something planned. Something not entirely proper." My hand freezes mid-stir, the spoon clinking against the ceramic. I feel a rush of heat to my cheeks, a flush I can't hide, and when I meet his gaze, there's a spark in his eyes I haven't seen in years, a flicker of mischief, of secrets. I open my mouth to ask what he means, but the words catch in my throat. Not entirely proper? What could that even imply? My mind spins, but I just nod, caught in the intensity of his stare. The rest of the day drags on, and I'm a mess of nerves. I'm at my desk in my cluttered office, surrounded by manuscripts I'm supposed to be editing, but the words on the pages blur into nonsense. My fingers fidget with the hem of my sleeve, twisting the fabric as my thoughts race. What did Mark mean by not entirely proper? Is he planning some kind of surprise date? A stolen moment away from prying eyes? Or is it just a playful prank? He's always had a mischievous streak, the kind that used to make me laugh until my sides ached. But this feels different. Heavier, somehow. I chew on my lip, torn between demanding answers and letting myself be swept up in whatever he's scheming. Part of me hesitates, whispering that I should press him for details, that I shouldn't just blindly follow. But another part, the part that's been dormant for too long, craves a break from the monotony, a chance to feel something beyond the dull ache of routine. By the time the sun dips below the horizon, I've made up my mind to go along with whatever Mark has planned, even if it means stepping into the unknown. The next day arrives with a gray sky hanging low, the air crisp and heavy with the promise of rain. I'm dressed in a long-sleeved charcoal dress, my scarf wrapped tightly around my neck, my purse clutched like a lifeline as Mark drives us to the community college. The campus is eerily quiet, just as he said it would be, with empty parking lots and buildings that loom like silent sentinels. He leads me toward the auditorium, his hand firm on my lower back, guiding me with a purpose that makes my stomach twist in knots. I can feel the weight of his gaze even though I don't look at him, and I wonder again what I've agreed to. As we reach the heavy double doors of the auditorium, Mark pauses, his hand on the handle. He looks at me, his eyes dark and unreadable, and says, "This is it, Claire. Trust me." Before I can respond, he steps back, gesturing for me to go in alone. My heart thuds in my chest as I push the doors open, the creak of the hinges echoing like a warning in the stillness. The vast space beyond is dimly lit, the rows of empty seats stretching endlessly into the shadows, disappearing into a darkness that feels almost alive. At the front, a single spotlight pierces the gloom, illuminating the stage in a harsh, unforgiving glow. My footsteps echo on the hardwood floor as I walk down the aisle, each sound amplified in the cavernous room, my scarf slipping slightly from my shoulder as I grip my purse tighter. The air feels thick, charged with something I can't name, and I'm suddenly hyper-aware of every breath I take. Halfway down the aisle, I notice 3 figures standing near the stage, their silhouettes sharp against the spotlight. As I get closer, I recognize them: Tom, Richard, and Henry, Mark's colleagues. Tom, in his late 50s, stands with a weathered face, his graying hair catching the faint light, his eyes deep-set and unreadable. Richard, early 60s, is stocky, his stern jaw set in a way that makes him look like he's always on guard, his presence heavy even from a distance. Henry, around 55, has a sly grin playing on his lips, his sharp eyes glinting with something that sends a shiver down my spine. They turn to look at me as one, their gazes intense, almost invasive, like they're peeling back layers I've spent years building up. My steps falter for a moment, a cold sweat prickling at the back of my neck. But I keep moving forward, drawn by some invisible force I don't understand. I stop halfway down the aisle, confusion swirling in my mind, when suddenly Mark's voice booms through the auditorium speakers, filling every corner of the space. "Claire, this is for you, a gift. If you're ready, let go." My breath catches in my throat, sharp and painful, as I realize he's not here with me. He's somewhere else, watching. Probably in the security office, with access to the cameras, his eyes on me even now. The realization hits like a wave, cold and overwhelming, and I glance around, half expecting to see him in the shadows. But there's nothing, just the empty seats and the three men who are now stepping closer, their expressions shifting into something knowing, something almost predatory. My mind reels as the pieces fall into place. Mark has arranged this, set this up deliberately. These men aren't here by chance. They're part of whatever this is. A test, a fantasy. Something far beyond anything I could have imagined when he whispered those cryptic words at the breakfast table. My hands tremble as I clutch my purse tighter, the leather creaking under my grip, and I feel the ground shift beneath me, like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff with no way back. I freeze, my heart racing so fast I can hear it pounding in my ears as Tom approaches first. His movements are slow, deliberate, and when his hand reaches out to touch my arm, his fingers are gentle but firm, sending a jolt through me that I can't ignore. I'm standing there, rooted to the spot on this dimly lit stage, the spotlight casting long shadows that seem to dance with every shaky breath I take. The air in the auditorium feels heavier now, thick with a tension that wraps around me like a vice. Tom's hand lingers on my arm, his rough, calloused fingers sliding slowly upward, tracing a path to my shoulder with a deliberate intent that makes my skin prickle. I can feel Richard stepping in closer behind me, his presence looming as his fingers graze the outline of my spine through the thin fabric of my charcoal dress, each touch sending an involuntary shiver through me. Then there's Henry, his breath hot against the side of my neck, his low murmurs of encouragement brushing against my ear like a forbidden whisper, urging me to let go, to give in. My senses are overwhelmed. The sharp, musky scent of their cologne mingling with the stale, musty air of this old auditorium. The sound of my own shallow, uneven breathing echoing in my ears like a drumbeat I can't escape. Every nerve in my body is on edge, hyper-aware of the cameras mounted in the corners of the room, their unblinking lenses capturing every moment. I know Mark is watching, probably sitting in the security office, his eyes glued to the screens, seeing every touch, every tremble. That thought sends a surge of fear through me, but beneath it, there's something else. A thrill, a dangerous exhilaration that I can't deny, no matter how much I try to push it down. I've spent years hiding, wrapping myself in layers of fabric and decorum, building walls around my body, my desires, until I barely recognized myself anymore. Every long-sleeved dress, every tightly knotted scarf, was a barrier between me and the world, a shield against vulnerability. But now, standing here with these three men circling me, like I'm the center of some unspoken ritual, I feel those walls crumbling. My mind is a battlefield, torn between the safety of the past and the reckless pull of this moment. I look into Tom's eyes, searching for something. Reassurance, maybe, or a reason to stop. But all I see is a quiet intensity, a question waiting for my answer. My shoulders, tense for so long, begin to relax, the tightness in my chest loosening just enough for me to breathe deeper. My hands, clenched into fists at my sides, slowly unfurl, fingers trembling as I let go of the last shred of resistance. I give a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent agreement that feels louder than any words I could speak. It's a surrender, not to them, but to myself, to the part of me that's been buried for too long. I feel the scarf around my neck slip further, the soft fabric sliding down to expose the pale curve of my collarbone, skin that hasn't seen the light of day in public for years. The vulnerability of it hits me like a wave. But instead of drowning, I feel alive, intoxicated by the rawness of it all. Tom senses the shift in me, his grip on my shoulder tightening just slightly, while Richard and Henry adjust their movements, their touches becoming more purposeful, guiding me with a balance of care and command into a territory I've never dared to explore. Inside, I'm a storm of contradictions. Guilt crashes over me in relentless waves as I think of Mark, of the promises we made to each other all those years ago, vows that feel like they're unraveling with every second I stand here. How can I be doing this, letting this happen, when he's the one I swore to stand by? But then there's another voice, louder, more insistent, drowning out the shame, a primal, desperate need for release, for something real after so many years of feeling numb, of going through the motions. I've been sleepwalking through my life, and now, for the first time in forever, I'm awake. But at what cost? Is this betrayal? Or is it something else entirely, because Mark orchestrated this, because he wanted me here, in this moment, under his watchful gaze? My thoughts are a tangled mess, jumping from one extreme to another. As I stand here on this stage, the spotlight burning into my skin, I feel the last of my defenses crumble like ash in the wind, the barriers I've clung to for so long. Those long-sleeved dresses, the tightly wound bun in my hair, the invisible walls I've built around my heart. They're all slipping away, both in spirit and in truth. My charcoal dress, once a shield, is nudged aside, the fabric gathering in soft folds as it reveals more of me than I've ever dared to show. My hair, freed from its rigid knot, cascades over my shoulders in a wild tumble, strands brushing against my neck like a whisper of rebellion. The cool air of the auditorium kisses my exposed skin, and every touch from Tom, Richard, and Henry feels like a spark igniting something deep within me. It's not just about their hands or their nearness. It's about the unshackling of Claire, the woman who's hidden for years behind layers of fabric and fear. I'm uninhibited now, raw and open, allowing them to see and explore parts of me I've kept locked away. Not just from the world, but from myself. There's a terrifying freedom in this, a liberation that surges through me like a tidal wave, washing away the woman I used to be. I've never felt so seen, not even by Mark, not in all our years together. His gaze, even through the cold lens of the camera, can't compare to this visceral, electric moment. I imagine him watching from the security office, his face a mask of conflicting emotions, part awe at my transformation, part something darker, something I can't name but can feel in the weight of his unseen stare. It's as if I'm unraveling before him, thread by thread, and I wonder what he sees now. A stranger? Or the woman he's always known was buried beneath the surface? My emotions swirl into a tempest, a crescendo of everything I've suppressed for far too long. Desire pulses through me, hot and insistent, mingling with a sharp pang of guilt that claws at my chest. How can I revel in this when I've made promises, when I've built a life with someone who's watching me cross lines I never thought I'd approach? Yet, there's power here, a strength I didn't know I possessed, blooming in the vulnerability of this moment. I'm exposed, yes, but I'm also in control, choosing to feel, to embrace this forbidden connection. My eyes flick to one of the cameras mounted high in the corner, its red light a silent witness. I lock onto it, staring straight into the lens, and in that split second, I send a message to Mark. This isn't just for you. This is for me. I'm not the reserved Claire anymore, the one who tiptoes through life, afraid of her own shadow. I'm someone new, someone who hungers for emotion, for a tether to something real, even if it's in a way society would never condone. The voices of the men around me fade into a low hum, their words and murmurs becoming background noise to the thundering of my own heartbeat. My breath, ragged at first, steadies into a rhythm that feels like a reclaiming. I'm discovering a part of myself I didn't know existed, a wild, untamed essence that's been waiting in the dark, yearning to break free. Every inhale feels like I'm drawing in life itself. Every exhale a release of the weight I've carried for years. As the intensity of the moment naturally winds down, I find myself perched on the edge of the stage, my legs dangling over the side, the wood cool against my skin. My dress hangs askew, rumpled and out of place, my hair a tangled mess framing my face, but I don't care. There's a strange calm settling over me, a quiet after the storm. My chest rises and falls with deep, even breaths, and I feel whole, in a way I can't quite explain. Tom, Richard, and Henry step back, their presence less imposing now, their faces softened by something akin to respect. They murmur quiet farewells, their voices low and almost reverent, as if they, too, were part of this transformation. As I sit there on the edge of the stage, the echoes of what just transpired, still lingering in the air, I hear the faint sound of footsteps approaching. My heart skips a beat, wondering if it's one of the men returning. But then I see Mark. He emerges from the shadowed aisle, his tall frame moving with a quiet purpose, his security uniform still crisp despite the late hour. He doesn't say anything at first, just sits down beside me, the warmth of his shoulder brushing against mine. The tension in the air is palpable, a heavy mix of unspoken questions and raw emotion. I brace myself, my breath catching as I wait for anger, for hurt, for some kind of judgment to spill from his lips. I'm terrified of what he might think after witnessing everything through those cold, unblinking cameras. But when he finally speaks, his voice is soft, almost tender, cutting through my fears like a gentle breeze. You were beautiful, Claire. I always knew there was more behind those eyes. I'm stunned, my head snapping to look at him, searching his rugged face for any hint of resentment. But there's none. Instead, I find admiration, a quiet pride that makes my chest ache in a way I didn't expect. His dark eyes hold mine, steady and warm, and for a moment, I can't find words. He continues, his tone low and earnest, admitting something I never thought I'd hear. He tells me he's wanted this for me for years, to see me break free, to embrace a side of myself I've kept locked away under layers of fabric and fear. It's as if he's been waiting for me to step out of the shadows, to claim a piece of life I've denied myself for so long. My mind reels, processing his words, the weight of them sinking in. We sit there, the vast emptiness of the auditorium stretching around us, and for the first time in ages, we talk, really talk. It's not just surface-level chatter about bills or schedules. It's raw, open, vulnerable. We speak of desires we've never dared to voice, fears that have kept us at a distance, and what this moment, this wild, unconventional experience, means for us moving forward. I confess how I've felt trapped, not by him, but by my own hesitations, my own need to hide. He listens, his hand resting near mine on the stage edge, and shares how he's seen me dimming over the years, how he orchestrated this not to hurt me, but to help me rediscover a spark he knew was still there. There's a new understanding blooming between us, a fragile thread of connection weaving through the complexity of what just happened. We don't have all the answers, but we agree to face whatever comes next together, to navigate this uncharted territory as partners, not strangers. As our conversation winds down, I lean back slightly, my gaze drifting to the empty seats before us, and I feel different. I'm not the same Claire who walked into this auditorium hours ago, the shy, reserved woman who hid behind long sleeves and whispered words. There's a shift inside me, a newfound confidence pulsing through my veins, a hunger for life that wasn't there before. I don't regret what unfolded on this stage, not for a second. Instead, I see it as a turning point, a moment that shattered the self-imposed cage I've lived in for far too long. I can almost picture myself now, stepping out into the world in ways I never dared before. Wearing shorter sleeves, letting my pale skin feel the sun, speaking louder. My voice carrying weight instead of fading into the background. I imagine taking risks, saying yes to things I would have once turned away from, embracing the messiness of life instead of shrinking from it. It's as if a weight has been lifted, a veil torn away, revealing a version of myself I've always sensed but never had the courage to meet. This experience, as unconventional and boundary-pushing as it was, has ignited something within me, a flame that I'm determined to keep burning, no matter what anyone else might think. The auditorium is silent now, save for the faint hum of the overhead lights, and Mark stands. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.